Anything else? Don?
Can you talk a little bit about the idea that the more people that become creditors and behave in this way, the better world will be. But not everybody is going to have the right heart.
Yeah, that's okay too, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Do we really care?
the reason I'm asking,
We'd love them to be creditors, but they're not going to be, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because I don't know. I've heard some talk about 2012 and some kind of shift.
You know, I love the Bible. No man's going to know the time.
Yeah.
The Mayan calendar ends.
Yeah.
You know, I got other stuff to worry about. I live in the moment. Why would you worry about 2012?
I'm not worried about
I like it. You know, when Y2K was the big buzz, I said, I'm having a hard time picturing nuclear plants. This whole world's going to shut down, all this. And I said, you know, I don't get it. I got some neat articles at Y2K, this and that's going to be the end, and yada, yada, yada. I just go with, you know, what's the best form of social control?
Fear.
Just fear-mongering. Who the frick are the Mayans? They're not even around anymore. It's their calendar ended in 2012, so what?
The calendar going, except the Spaniards interfered with that, probably.
You know, what do I care? I just know what God said. No man's going to know the time. And what did Christ say? Not even the angels know? And so we're going to prognosticate? Let's see. They said the world was flat, right? Do you think they really believed that? No, they didn't. That was just stuff they promulgated to a bunch of commoners. But anyway, then you know the Norwegians have been sailing the seas. They had maps of the world long before. Oh, for God, we just buy everything.
I guess what I'm really asking is, what is your mission, if you will, with what you're doing now to try to teach as many people as possible about this? I'm just interested about your thoughts on what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Well, I make good money doing it. I also have a lot of fun doing it.
Okay.
Great answers.
That there's a great purpose involved in it. It's just cream on the deal. I'm not like a major altruist. You know, I mean, Brandon and is far more altruistic than I. However, my actions are far more altruistic than his. You know, I've got clients that don't. I've got clients that don't pay, and I still take care of them.
Yeah.
I got people that have never paid, and I work with. That doesn't mean that they get great service, but at this point, I don't often turn down anybody's phone call, or it takes a while to get it.
Yeah.
I might ask them, do you not think a workman's worthy of his hire when they continue to take advantage week after week, this and that? Or they want me to teach them fundamental basics, and no, you got to go on the internet. CIC will give you that free. I'm not going to go over silly little fundamentals with you when you're being just too lazy to go and get it yourself. We give it to you free. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the same thing in person that I tell you that's free on the CIC site. Although it's so much better to get it in person. You know, that's what the immersion program. Don't ask. I understand why it works.
You know why I'm asking? Right?
Why?
Yeah, I'm asking you just because I'm interested in knowing more about who you are as a person, what you're doing. That's all.
It's a combination of all of those things. I really enjoy doing it, but I got other things to do besides from 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. I don't want to keep doing this. That heavy a schedule. I'd rather tune down and have it moderate a little bit in my life. But also a lot of people are in great need of help. It's hard to turn down some people. Some I do turn down because they're so far down that being able to get there is just hopeless. You know, I had a gal email me. She said, I'm in bankruptcy. I'm getting ready to be arrested and go to jail for felony conviction. I need help. I don't have any money and this. God, I don't even know where to help the gal. I recommend go do this, and this, but I don't even begin to. She's got emergencies that she doesn't have the capacity to learn in that short a period of time. What she really wants is someone to come in and save her and do everything for her, and I can't because I can't save you all. I could teach you how to save yourself. I see it also, you see enough of these gurus selling this garbage out here that the forms are going to do it. I just don't believe it well. I haven't seen it working. Now, yes, forms work in a lot of areas, but I don't see the GS forms work in a lot of areas. It's administrative law stuff I see working all the time for me. I see it working for Brandon. And I don't doubt there's a lot of other guys doing it too. I understand that there's several other people whose forms work real nice for them. I'm trying to get it into simplistics. I know what it's like to be hard-headed on this stuff. I remember trying to learn it when I was first in it. God, I was slow. Oh, it was miserable. Just, what? How do you do this certified mailer? I remember, some of the guys were saying, but what are you, nuts? I said, look, I'm just having trouble, guys. I just need some help. I don't get it. It just takes a little practice and a little work. So I understand when you all don't get something. I was way worse than you guys. So, but.
Well, I sure admire you for doing all your time and taking the energy to go forth and learn all this stuff. It's just so admirable. Wow.
Well, if you were in prison and I'm a real estate developer. I've done about $1 billion for my own account. At 29, I built the largest private lived-in home in America. Been on Rich and Famous, People magazine. Started 24-hour fitness. Owned banks, public companies. I've been around the block a few hundred times. I've been a very successful businessman. I'm nobody, but I've been around the block in business. Huge. Had some wonderful times. And then I asked God, as I always did, for wisdom and knowledge. Oh, that's a mistake. He gave it all right. It's not a mistake. I got blessed with going to prison for 9.3 years. And, well, is it? Where'd your last 9 years go? Would you miss it, really? What if you'd gone to a great school, finishing school, and learned a bunch of stuff, got to test stuff, do cases from double murder to putting wardens, having them around? God, you can't buy that kind of joy. It has to come with something. And in that light, I'm the one who's been blessed this last 10 years. You all, I feel bad for. You all out here struggling. I know that. When I was coming out, I was saying, oh man, what am I doing, man? I hope I really got into the habit of enjoying my studies. Like there's a poem about habit I really like, and I've got it not well memorized, but it goes like this. I am your constant companion. You know that one. I am your greatest helper, blah, blah. Who am I? I'm habit. God, that sums it up. To go to prison.
Whose is that poem again?
Huh?
Whose is it?
I don't know whose it is. It's anonymous, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's the first line?
I am your constant companion. I am your greatest helper, or your heaviest burden.
Yeah, if you Google that, you probably
Yeah. Or I can send it. It's I say it every day, so it's just getting better and better, and I have it memorized.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I speak to groups, we'll have to see a new.
I'm curious because you have a very impressive memory, and I'm wondering whether you always had that, or whether that came.
And I had trouble getting through school.
Really?
Yeah, I was lucky to get B average, and only because you got an A in athletics, and I liked English because you just did book reports, and I read fiction books like a fool. Didn't read good stuff. All I can say is thank God for God. He raises up those whom He wants for what He wants.
Flashcard self, right?
Well, the envelopes, you'd be surprised if, in my car in the visor I got, poems and different stuff that I want to memorize and repeat them a lot of times till I burn them in like you would like the Pledge of Allegiance or anything else. When you repeat it, I've never leaves you like James Allen, you will be what you will to be, let failure find its false contentment. I memorized that one like 25 years ago because I used to give that at my health club, promotion sales to the managers and the salesmen and stuff. So once you start memorizing that stuff, you just get you just practice it, and this stuff's important to you. All law emanates from contract or agreement. Therefore, law is contract, contract's law. And you just ponder that, and you let it roll on your mind, and you keep reading over and over and over and over till you see it. And then it's a thing because you want to bring it up in different things and settings, and you think of yourself in front of policemen or judges or whatever, and you start getting this stuff, and you're not going to quote all these esoteric poems and comments and things I've got, but for me, when I'm in the hole a lot or anything, I don't mind being in the hole because I have lots of things to look at, flash up in the mind, quote and poem after quote and poem after quote and poem. Court cases, this, that, definitions. I just love reading the dictionary. It's about my favorite book. And I can just sit there for hours and get into one word, and I'm looking up one that meant that, and I forgot what word I started with. I can spend an hour on one word, and I get a thorough understanding of it. And it helps me to get where I need to get. And then when I'm typing stuff, I get in front of the computer, it just comes to me. Just comes up. Because there's something in there to get. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into act. It's just, you read poems like Habit and that James Allen stuff, and you start understanding a man's mind may be likened unto a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and produce their own kind. Golly, that stuff is so edifying. I watch a little TV, and when I always get done watching TV, I go, God, this is a waste.
Yeah.
And I don't feel good. It's nice that I don't like to do it much. I do like movies now and then. And I do like I've been a little bit crazy about working lately. I just don't even care about taking time off. But it is, to some degree, a little tedious because I guess some of my students are calling me 11 o'clock Sunday nights just a little bit. I'm saying, I would really, I'm trying to relax a little here. Maybe we could talk about, no, I'm really going to, all right, But I know what it's like to be on the other side, to have a problem when you need these things. So I empathize greatly with that because I've been there and done that. I used to call Jack, and just 1 to 3 hours a day when I was going through that deal. But he had a student that was, willing to try anything, going to jail, and we learned so much together on that one. That was so good. And to watch that 4.8 million 2 supervised release cases fall by the wayside, and to finish that story with that unit manager, he said with that court order, that is a court order is where we were going with that. So I said, well, I conditionally accept your court orders upon proof of claim it supersedes a federal district court order, and handed it back. 3 days later, he calls me in his office and he goes, I've been in the BOP for 20 years, and in all my career, I have never seen a court order like yours. You don't have to do any supervised release. You don't have to pay a single dime. You don't even have to give me a release address. I said, you're learning, Jacoby. And that was the end of it. Just a beautiful congratulations. The day I leave, the guard on the floor says, I heard you're leaving today. I said, so the rumor goes. Just be relaxed about it. It happens, it happens. I'm expecting it to happen, but I'm not going to get all weirded out about it in case somebody do pull something funny, I want to be like a twit about it. So he goes, they're not going to release you unless you give a picture. I said, I conditionally accept, blah, blah, blah. A couple hours later, they call me to go, and the guard at the elevator, a different guard, says, they're not going to release you unless you give a picture. And I said, I conditionally accept, blah, blah, blah. I get down to receiving and discharge. Nobody asked for a picture, nothing, and it was time to leave with 3 other guys that were going out that day in the building. They asked for the name. The guys will say, give their name and a number. And look at me, and I say, the defendant, the inmate's name is Gordon Hall. His number is blah, blah, blah. They just smile and go to the second door and do the same thing through it, and I walked out and never been contacted since. God, they're beautiful guys. They don't give up. They checked right to the last minute. Yet a week before they said, you don't have to give in. You don't have to do anything. I never seen an order like that. Nah.
What if you gave a picture?
I don't know. All I know is I don't think it would have affected anything, really.
Stand your ground.
Well, I was 5.5 months in the hole. The first 90 days, they were 3 to 5 times a day, 2 to 5 times a day trying to get a picture. And then it stopped, threatened to take me before the judge, this, that, and the other thing. In 5.5 months, the staff there comes down to the whole area twice a week. The whole unit managers, team managers, assistant wardens, sometimes a warden, this guy. That, there's like 7 to 15 of them that come down on that floor twice a week. So they're trying to get the guys back in the general population, showing it's just really an interesting system they have. And like the day before I got out, the captain comes by as usual. He says, "Come on, man, Hall, give us a picture." I says, "Just a picture?" I'm playing with him. He knows I always play with these guys. I says, "Just a picture?" He says, "You have my word. If you give just a picture, you don't have to give anything else." I says, "Just a picture." He said, "You have my word." I says, "Come by and see me tomorrow." Yeah, I know he ain't going to do it. They come by tomorrow, but he isn't there. One of the guards, there's about 6 or 8 of them this time, and so one of the, suits, we call him, goes, "Congratulations, I heard you're going up on the floor. Great, man. You're going to be able to have food and be with the guys and watch TV. It's football season," or whatever it was, basketball season or something. And he's doing this rah, rah, rah and congratulating me, and I says, "Who told you that?" Because you got just this little window that looks in there. And he goes, "He's still the same." About 30 seconds later, this head unit manager, I forgot his name now, pokes his head in. He goes, "You had me worried. I thought you were going to break weak." Ooh, what a cool thing to say. I said, "What do you think?" They leave. About an hour later, they come by and say, "Roll up, Hall, you're out of here." I said, "Where am I going?" He says, "I don't know. You're just off this floor." Put me in general population. I said, "I never saw anything like this. No picture, no prints, and they put me up in general population. This is great." When you know my luck. But I learned a lot when I was down there. So, and the hole's not like a real bad thing. It's just it's just lonely in there, and sometimes a little cold, and also, there's no extra food, and so all there is to work out the mind, the body, the heart. It's really, when would you or I force ourselves into a bathroom for months at a time and to have true self-examination and introspection? What are we, stupid, crazy? We ain't doing that. We can't afford to pay someone to bring us a little food once in a while and all that, right? Hell no. So it's really a cool time if you can get your head around it. And to guys that are in there a long time, it's no big deal. It's not like you're in the dark and this and that. And even if you were, so what?
Smell like Papillon?
Huh?
Papillon?
Not even close. They ain't feeding you gruel. They can come in and give you. It's not great food, but it isn't bad. It's not like slop. It's like you get one little piece of fruit and one little tiny 1 ounce thing of cereal and a little thing of milk, and that little half pint of milk, and sometimes a Danish, but I mean, it's more than enough to feed a guy, and lunch is a little better, and dinner ain't bad. Sometimes it's like pretty meager for a guy that's working out, but basically there's nothing wrong with it. They're not starving anybody in there. They're not beating people. They really treat you pretty good.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I've heard this on Wall Street. I've heard that they say that inmates complain they get steaks too many times a week.
You do what?
They get steaks too many times a week.
Get what?
Steaks?
Steaks.
You get steaks when?
Too many times a week.
They get tired of it. They get
Too many times a week.
No chance. You kidding? You see those once or twice a year. You're not getting steak.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. You get some hamburger that's pretty questionable. You get some food that you don't eat sometimes. I could never eat certain foods like peas and this and that. Boy, in that hole I learned to eat peas and they tasted pretty good. And, what's the greatest spice man's made? Hunger.
That's right.
So, but the food is not bad there. I mean, it's not the best in these places. I've been in lots of county jails, and some county jails, man, you're on a serious diet. It's very small amounts, like a half an egg, for breakfast and a little bit else. But it's nobody's starving you. Not working you out in the cotton fields every day. This government really treats you good. No, you don't want to be there, and it's not in the least bit comfortable. And you can't, some of the food is, I've worked in the kitchen, it's many years expired, it's rotten, all sorts of things. They'll boil rotten chicken and feed it to guys. Man, ain't no joke. They'll do some pretty crass things, those COs will. You know. But nonetheless, it's not bad. What do you want? You're in prison. You know, and it's really, you know, to somebody that's in tune with God, it just ain't a big deal. You know. What do the scriptures say about the body? For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. What's mortifying mean? Punish, like as in fasting, asceticism. That's all.
There's other meanings too, right?
Yeah, but in that context, that's exactly what it means. To deny. And by fasting, asceticism, and that kind of thing. It's great.
Did you have access to books and a library? And
Nah, you just get access generally to crap fiction books.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you study? Where did you get it from?
That's an interesting thing. You know, my stuff would come in, there would be a paperback dictionary on that stand where it shouldn't have been there. I mean, God took care of me. Guys would send what I needed in, my paperwork or whatever would come in, or something that I hadn't. And I used to write thousands of words in their definitions and study them all day. I had this little paperback dictionary. That's where I got on the merit. That last trip in that hole was, I got merit down. I said, I got to look up every word. And I looked up merit and it said quality deserving reward. Oh, that didn't click anything in my mind. And when I then went to deserving, it said, have by conduct a claim to man. Oh my gosh, there's that word claim again. And it all came clear. And this is what, Jack, everybody now understands the rest of this game. It's not the paperwork that's going to do it for you in a federal indictment or a murder case deal or something heavy, or going in for public ratification of your private for a Harley or anything else. This is the key. We needed it. Nobody was touting this. Nobody's telling us that. It's everything. And it makes sense too. Perfect sense. And we're winning them all with it. No question about it. And it's well received. It's not like they're down on us or anything. It's a wonderful thing. So, God has His ways. Be careful what you ask for, you might get it. One of my assistants, Deepak, he says, Lord, bless me with wisdom and knowledge, but no jail. Qualifies it. No negative input on this for me. And ask God for what you want. That's what He's there for. You can do this contract stuff. It's really so exciting, because all of this, I wanted it brought down into simplistics. Jack is far more cerebral than I am about this stuff. I'm just practical about it. It doesn't matter to me if the paperwork's real right. I said, Jack, I can make an IOU stick, a postage stamp stick. What's it matter? He says, you got a point. I said, go easy on these people. You're like talking up here to them. I said, I understand, but me and one other maybe. And I said, you nuts, Jack? Ease up, man. Jack's so good. And we need him. He does stuff I can't do. He has such good. He's been at it 30 some odd years. Mm-hmm. He's just he's a blessing to be around. Him and Brandon both are just sweet guys. And they care. They care about you all, as I do. We really genuinely love and like you. I love my fellow man. The guards, I loved all those guys. I loved all those guys. The ones that were mean, I loved them. I said, we had this Warden Woodring, man, he was a disciplinarian. When he got there, I said, man, this is going to be great. We're going to get into it for sure. Because this guy did everybody there. He's a great warden. And look what came out of it. And truly, where Jack tells you, the government does reflect your attitude. That's why it's important for you to love them. When you go into court, know that judge is truly there and that prosecutor is there for you. You don't want to lean them. Those guys are there to give you your remedy. Love them. Now, they're not going to act like it, doggone it, but they're there to give it to you, and they will. I saw that public defender Judge, I don't think Mr. Stewart knows exactly what he wants at this time. And I'm really busy this month and next month. And Mrs. Charbel, I'm going, whoa, I've heard they switched sides, and man, it was perfect. And every time that I've asked for abatement of proceeding, we've gotten it. The reasons have always been weird. Legal research said we got to put it off 60 days, and Deepak went in. I mean, this is consistent with 29 tickets, 10 arrest warrants, and he goes in there and craziness. It's all about attitude, and they will reflect you. That's why you don't want to come in with this, for better lack of a word, the patriot attitude. The what do you go, rev scammers, or any kind of reviling or whining. I absolutely love these guys and appreciate them. All of them, the attorneys, all of them. They're not going to fare well at Judgment Day, perhaps. Not my business. And they're doing this for us to learn this game. What a beautiful thing. And they have to put up with us in there. It's beautiful. They can't respond. It's the best.
Now, when the judge walks in and everything, are you standing and everything?
Very good point.
There's lots of
John and I, when we first went in for his first hearing, they said, all rise. John and they stayed sat. Now, in my very first hearing on revocation of probation for or supervised release for moi, I'm sitting in the back of the courtroom, and the judge says, is Gordon Hall in the courtroom? And I stand up and say, I am here today as Gordon Hall. I'm reading. I told you I had to read it, you know. I'm here today as Gordon Hall, secured party creditor. I forgot what else I said. Secured party creditor, private trustee, for the purpose of helping the parties settle all claims or charges outstanding, to bring resolution, settlement, or closure of matter. If it please the court, may I enter the bar under said terms and conditions. But didn't let me enter the bar. And he just went on talking. I stood there standing, and we had this conversation. The U.S. attorneys, probation department, supervised probation department don't say a word, just the judge and I. I'm outside the bar in the gallery section where public sits, and he's up there, and we're talking back and forth, and he got into, and that hearing lasted 10 minutes when he said, I'm giving you an order to be back next Thursday, blah, blah, blah. And I said, would it be all right, Judge, if I came to the hearing next Thursday? July, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I have another matter to hear now. And I left. The second hearing, this time, wild. Sitting in there, the clerk announces, and we're only people in there, there's a few marshals and some government people. And the clerk says, everybody seated, stay seated. Those standing, take a seat. In walks the judge. We're on the private side now. Wild. No rise. Stay seated. And take a seat. And he said, come on in.
To you.
Yeah. I walked in the bar, you know. I said, in terms of, he says, yeah, come on in. I said, let the record show I'm entering the bar, blah, blah, blah. And walked in. I didn't mind. It's on the private side. We're not public. We're in chambers now. Now, it can go back to public in a second. I'm already in there, so you got to be careful then.
How?
Well, on the fifth one, I'll get to it. That's how. So we'll get there shortly. So that second hearing lasted 20 minutes, back and forth. I'm going through my sheets. The third hearing started the same way, all seated, remained seated. But this time I'd gone down to the clerk's office, got the latest entries on the docket, accepted them for value, and put them in 5 minutes before the court started to the clerk there, who took them back to the judge. Court started 5 minutes late. It lasted about a 90-second hearing. And he bolted from the courtroom. I'd heard it happen, but I had never seen it. I had DHOs do it, but I hadn't seen a judge bolt. And this guy bolted. Two guys who were with me said, man, we should have had a stopwatch. He's moving so quick. They're being a little facetious. But it was impressive, because we were close to getting it settled. Fourth hearing, all stay seated again, and that one was like 6 or 7 minutes. Fifth hearing was all stay seated, came in the bar again, except Jack and I had talked. Well, there was a story about the guy going to the IRS, and the IRS said, if you're willing to play the defendant today, we can do this. So we put in a letter, got all this going, and yada yada. Long and the short is, I enter the bar, and the clerk says, is your true name Gordon Hall? Or she said, she said, is your true name Gordon Hall? And I said, oh God, I got to do this to be the defendant. I says, yes. So I tried to act like the defendant, but I hadn't. So I screwed the thing up. The long and the short is, and I got a contempt of court charge on that one for that.
So what
I
should
got
you have
formal.
done?
I'm here as Gordon Hall intervener.
David?
That's all I had to say. Don't have to get all real verbose. I'm here as Gordon Hall intervener. That's all I had to have done. But we thought, Jack said, we need to get you in. You need to pretend to be the defendant, and blah blah blah. And it was a pretty interesting scenario that got us all there. So, and shaking as there's some long stories about it, but nonetheless, that was the bottom line. You can be in there, and if you want to get on the public side while you're in there, you'll be public again in a moment. The minute I answered yes, we were public. Party was over.
So what happened when you screwed it up?
I got a 4-month contempt charge for that. It was good because
What, just being on the public side that quick?
yes, yeah, latches entered into it that time. Inexcusable delay in enforcing a claim. It was entering the bar. The judge had not got the letter. The attorney had the letter and assured me, oh, it was this, that preclude my rights. I stepped into the bar, one, without an agreement. And then when the clerk asked that was the second time, and that was it. So I screwed it up.
So you should have done what you normally do.
What?
You should have done what you had done previously.
Yeah, I should have simply said I'm entering the bar as intervener. Let the record show that I'm here today as intervener, entering the bar to help settle all claims or charges. Something like that. That's all I had to say. Instead, the judge said, come on in. And I said, you received the letter? And he said, no. And I walked in. I needed to have made, he got it, but he said no. And I should have, which reserved my rights this particular letter. But, in the back of my mind, Jack says, you got in there, you got to be the defendant.
What was the purpose of having to be the defendant?
Because Jack thought that's how you had to get in there to settle the matter based on some story we'd heard before when it was in error. So, that's all. It was just, I was game for testing things. My buddy Seehausen said, where's the contract that obligates me? I didn't want to keep going to multiple hearings. I wanted to try and learn how to settle it. Is this the way we go? I could see now where the mistake was. I'd given him a letter and the clerk, and I'd asked him if he received his letter, and he said no.
So he was lying.
That or receive means to let in. He said he didn't let it in, is what he did. So he wasn't lying. Does that make sense?
Well, when you asked him if he received it, what were you meaning by it?
Well, that's a good question. There's ambiguity there. Did I mean, did he get it in his possession? Did I mean he let it in and we have an agreement? And what did he mean when he said no? And it would have been incumbent on me for clarification, not him. It was my error, no question about it. He did his job. I can only say I admire him. I tell you, these judges are good guys and girls. The second case, I'm in the thing and I'm getting ready to come up to it, and so I have a call down to go see the attorney, or a legal visit, and I go see this attorney, and they have this really good-looking gal, about 5'10", blonde attorney, sharp. She says, I've been appointed your attorney. That's why they sent a good-looking gal. It might be less argument.
Put you off
Yeah,
guard.
right. Yeah, not a chance. So,
Yeah.
not happening.
Come on.
So,
Is this the end of your 4 months now? Is this what you're talking
coming
about?
up to the end of the 4 months, and they're going to bring up the second supervised revocation case. First one settled. All I get was a contempt charge, but it's settled. So she says, I've been appointed your attorney. I said, well, I conditionally accept. You accept private compensation. She says, I can't do that. We have a hearing on Wednesday and blah, blah, blah. I says, what's we? And we have this 45-minute conversation. She's so good. No matter what I say, she just gloss over it with a confession and avoidance and on to the next thing, And I was back and forth, and I was having fun because I wasn't nervous anymore, and I had it down pat with offer and acceptance and how to manipulate her and all this. I said, well, you're just an attorney, right? She said, yeah. I said, can you do anything but argue? Well, no.
But what does that mean exactly? So an attorney can't do a conditional, or
The rules of court, no, they can't do conditional acceptances.
and they can't do other things.
There's a lot of things they can't do. They're bound by the rules. Like you submit, you're the attorney and you file the complaint. I get the complaint, I conditionally accept it, give it back to you in the court, right? You can't put in another answer to mine. Next hearing we're going to have is based on whether to see whether I can hold my mud on my counteroffer.
I can throw out new offers and see if you bite on them.
In verbal when we're there,
Oh, but not in writing.
but you can't respond to mine in writing. That's unacceptable in court. I can respond to every writing you do. They have rules they're bound by. They're there to get you your remedy. Believe it or not. You just got to know the rules.
They can't respond in writing to,
Some stuff they can, but not the way we do.
but they can send out endless new offers in writing.
Yes, they can.
At some point, does that become frivolous? Like, if I don't like somebody and I'm a lawyer, can I just send them a offer that they're a criminal every week? Or does that
Sort of,
start to
you could.
become? Does that start to become harassment or something?
Well, it'll be just like Juanita and I just did on one of her things. If you want to continue to collect on a debt that's already been paid, blah, 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 then that may be construed as fraud and may incur $100,000 penalty. Try to be real nice about it. First time, next time you send me another one of these, I'm going to send you back. Next one you send, I'm going to consider your behavior fraud, and I'm going to notice them that you've been harassing me. This is harassment. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to see how they like a little proactive. And they're not going to like it. Because what do you think the CFO and the president of that company is going to do with those offers? He's got to go give it to an attorney to handle, to operate. He's got 10 days. He ain't going to like it at all. Any more than Walmart liked it. But see, I don't want to use this stuff in a negative fashion. I want to be honorable. They're only doing their job. They're attempting to keep riffraff out. She's gotten her second notice. She did get a phone call, but that technically doesn't count. But we responded to it. She's gotten one written notice, a phone call, and then a second written notice. So out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, I'll see what they do with this other one that's just a teens firmer. I'd like to see if we can't be a little gentle with the situation first. If Chase continues with it. Now, the docks up in Wisconsin, which are different than the docks in Cincinnati, they had one of their banks, he called me and said, Gordon, these guys are sending me notices 2-3 of them a day. And they did for like a week. They sent notices 2-3 a day. Kind of like what you're talking about. He said, what do I do? I said, just bundle them all up and put them in one thing and send them all back. All right? Because they're being silly, and all they're doing is just trying to frustrate me. I said, if it continues on, we'll take other action. But, let's in the meantime, let's go ahead and answer them. And if it goes past this, we'll just bundle them all up. And after like before, I said, just bundle them. The next day, you bundle them up. Because you're going to send a certified mailer for each and every one.
So you bundle them all up, and then you have to point by point apply
Now, I
each
just
thing.
put it in and say something else. I forgot what I said, but I had to come up with something that causes them to think twice about continuing on that capacity. Remembering that, they're not going to like it if you go on the proactive side of it. Because the last thing you want me to do is start sending a bunch of, you've done this, you owe this, and start sending it to all sorts of employees, and start leaning employees up, and bank, store managers and district managers and all that. I kept the Walmart to the president and the store manager only, just kind of so there's a little personal stuff in it. So I tried to get the guy in California for the DEA do the guys personally.
Right.
He's afraid to come. I said, no, they respect this stuff. If they're as I say it is, he said, I talked to him at lunch break. I said, how you doing, Jeff? He says, I'm trying. He says, I think I'll be ready Monday, but right now I'm just trying to get used to it. I said, hey, it's at your leisure. I don't pressure him either way because they might come and put pressure on you. And I don't want him to feel. He has to make the decision for himself. Because without the faith on himself, he might suffer the consequences. I said, what do you think if you go after the warden? That's not a real bright thing to do if they're not going to obey the law. I mean, they got guards, they could sick on you, a bunch of redneck guards, and make your life miserable, throw all your stuff away. They do that all the time. I don't think they do it to my stuff, and nor did they. But, you know, like when guys riot in the prison, you know, they lock them all away, and they take everything of yours, photo albums, everything, just throw it in the dumpster. You riot, you pay, I promise you. They make you pay. So you got to try and get these guys' attention some way. They're just crazy. But this get back to contract law. If you hear it, it's all contracts. We got to get you so you understand it's nothing more than offer and acceptance. Everything they say is an offer. I'm going to throw you in jail. I'm going to do this. It's an offer. It's some kind of an offer. It doesn't appear that way, and it strikes you funny inside, but really it is an offer. So if you get it to me or Jack or somebody, we can help you understand it's an offer. Juanita gets some stuff. She said, what is it? I said, it's just an offer. It's okay. We do this because she's just getting into this. She hasn't done one of those before, so it's new to her. And I know what it's like to have something new. It's not a negative. It's perfectly normal. And it's perfectly normal for all of you not to have a real grasp of what we've been talking about. We need some practical experience, but we're kind of getting a little broad brush. But in reality, before we get done tomorrow, you should understand very simply, it's just some of these doors to go through. You're only going to do the first 2 doors, and which I forgot which one, but it's 99% of the time it's conditional acceptance. 99% of the time. Rarely am I going to go straight acceptance, except vacate the order or discharge me or something like that. Or you won the lottery, I accept. You know, that's about it. But it's otherwise, it truly is about 99% of the time conditional acceptance, because what they're offering me is not something I like. To arrest me, to be guilty of a ticket, or whatever. So all we got to do is get you all a little buffed up on a few things. 1, 2, 3 administrative proceeding. Juanita has an administrative notice article. My sister managed that little one off just reading that. A total layman, high school graduate. She got no input from me on that. She got it off of that. You can run your stuff, you know, by Juanita or me or something, and each other. You're going to get quick on this real fast. So the sooner y'all just jump in and start writing some of these things. And it would be nice if we took an exercise to do it, but tomorrow we can go through a little 3-parter. Let's get you down on it so that you just really understand how simple it is. We could talk about lots of things, but I'm here to talk about what you want to be taught and stuff. But if you can just get your mind around the most important thing, is you got a 3-part process, but who the court really is. This is the hardest part. How to file things into a court or with somebody, all right? So if you've got a judge in there, whenever that prosecutor sends something to the judge and you get the invite via summons, process service, whatever, in the mail, whichever, you've got to respond and send it back up, showing that you sent all that to him. Your enemy. Not your enemy, your remedy.
Adversary.
Your adversary. And you got to agree with him quickly. And the only way to agree is with conditional acceptance. Or a straight acceptance, and we're not agreeing to indictment or any other thing, or to have our child support modified or any of that.
I just figured out something from what you said earlier about how the lawyer cannot respond in writing when you send in something commercial document. So I've heard this term negative averment all over and over, and I never understood, well, why does that work? But that's why. You say there's no evidence of such and such. They have nothing to say about it.
A real important concept in law that we're going to go into a little bit tomorrow is referencing what's referred to as the negative averment. Because you remember, we can't prove anything, right? To clarify that,
Well, you can agree on the facts.
I'm telling you, you killed Abraham Lincoln in 1865. Can you prove you didn't?
I can agree with you for purposes of our contract.
A lot of guys say, I'm not old enough.
Right.
Look at him. Is he old enough?
Sure.
He tells you he ain't old enough. I say the dude looks young for his age.
Thank you.
He's got a birth certificate. I got one here says he is that old. You can't prove anything. If you can get that to, but most important, that goes scripturally. To prove something is to accuse your brother, isn't it? So you can't accuse somebody. So if you can get where you understand that the onus probandi, the onus probandi has to be switched. Burden of proving. And if we agree and you can get in your mind that you can't prove anything, you quit saying, well, I got evidence, I got this, I got that shows it. Let's say that you saw me aiming a gun over here at somebody way over there.
Don't use that example.
Well, that's a good one that Victoria has. And you hear the gun go off and the guy drops. Can you testify that I killed him?
No.
No, all you can testify to is you saw me holding what looked like a gun, unless it was a gun. Looked like a gun, you heard a loud report, and you saw the guy drop. You don't know if I aimed behind him and someone from back shot him, or he died of a heart attack before he did. So maybe I caused him to die, maybe I didn't. Maybe there's a hidden sniper and that's who I was aiming at. It's kind of interesting when you start looking at what was really said. She does a good job of that. Victoria's really cool with that way she talks about some of that stuff. I like that. She's a gal that does some seminar stuff with her way of doing it.
Victoria Joy.
Victoria Joy. So some of her stuff I really like. And I went to one of her seminars, and I can say I'm glad I did.
She was doing conditional acceptance
She
a
does a
long
lot of
time ago.
conditional acceptance stuff. I haven't heard her in a year, so I don't know what the latest stuff.
She's about honor and dishonor.
Yeah.
How I gotta go in.
Because I heard about her stuff like in 2003, so she's been doing it for a while.
I don't know where she is. Last I heard, I don't know where she is regarding
I can give you the contact.
merits.
Cool.
But at that time, she wasn't discussing any of that. Just conditional acceptances, which in a sense it is. But it's important to understand, she's big on having your Louisville Slugger and your paperwork just, weighing just a bunch to get them. And really, to me, it's not a big deal. Because it's all about your actions that are going to do it. Your words are going to carry the day. Because when I set off the probation, I used a Social Security account. Well, that technically isn't viable, but they kept it, right? They kept the bond drawn on a Social Security account number. So, who cares? They didn't. They kept it and agreed that it was set off. Right?
I think I'm going to do my next setup. Let's go off.
You could. I mean, that's the whole thing. The rule is if somebody keeps it or exercises when they've had the opportunity to return it, then there's acceptance. And acceptance is something that forms a binding contract. So when you get that in your mind, those basics, you don't have to get all this stuff memorized. You just get the basics. You give somebody a notice, give them an opportunity to fix it, and after that, they're in dishonor. You notice them, it's done. Did you tell them in your notice you're going to put a UCC against them all? You don't have to, but you could. I like to put it in there. But you don't have to. Think about how the IRS does it. They don't tell you, this may result in a UCC being filed against you or a notice of lien or levy. They often tell you, notice of intent to levy. Well, that is a, kind of a notice. They're going to levy you.
But the notice is already there in the tax code, isn't it?
In the what?
In the tax code.
Who care? What care I the tax code, right? It's just where they gave you a notice. Due process, 1, 2, 3 step. They send you a letter, send you another letter, probably a third and a fourth usually even. They're pretty good about it. They're experts at what we call administrative procedures. Because that's court. They're good at it. So you can just plagiarize and follow, some of the stuff you get from these people, you put back in your stuff.
It doesn't matter what's in the code. Like I was listening to Brandon a couple of days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. He said, in order for them to enforce the code, they have to mention it to you in a notice. That's when it starts to apply to you. And he says, if you ever see notices out, and I went outside of the building, it says no smoking, and then it has the statute that applies, Revised Code of Washington, blah blah blah. But why do they put that? Why do they even mention the code there? According to Brandon, they have to mention the code, otherwise it doesn't apply to you. They have to give you notice.
Well, it doesn't apply to you unless you're a U.S. citizen subject to statutes and codes anyway.
Right.
Rather than disrespect people and do. So you pick your battles. So, but the burden of proving is where it's all at. That's where you got to shift that, because you can't prove anything. And once you get that in your minds, 4 doors and switch to burden of proving and how you do it in the form of a negative averment and a couple of basics, and you plagiarize some people's documents, you can handle your own. You'll be able to start filing your own up rickety split. You get a copy of Terry Kelly's and a copy of this one and that one. You go, God, I can do that. Yeah. My sister's, which is kind of simple, and that one kind of simple. They're really just kind of saying things, stating some facts. Whether you want to put a affidavit of negative averment with it remains up to you. In a criminal case, I do it in there. In all this stuff privately, I don't worry about it. IRS doesn't do it. I don't need to do it either. So anyway, what time is it?
5 to 8.
Okay. We'll wrap up for the night. Catch you in the morning. Y'all enjoy dinner.
Thanks.
We'll get started. If you'd like to hit on something early tomorrow, or we're going to do some practical exercise if you'd like to, because you need to see a little confrontation, a little role playing, if you'd like.
Did you notice there was no "you're welcome"? I never said thank yous.